Alright, what's going on? So here's the run cycle. This is what we're going to be creating today. A very generic, straightforward run cycle. So let's just go ahead and get started. So we have it at 24 frames. If you want to go on down to your time sliders, adjust your time range to be 24 frames. FPS is 30 frames per second. So make sure that's swapped out and changed. What I'm going to do is drag select my keys over. I'm going to delete all the keys off of it currently. Everything at 0. Starting a T-pose. So what we're going to do is just build out the run cycle. I'm going to start off my first pose. Instead of being on the contact pose, it's going to be on the up pose. I'm just going to make a slight adjustment here. So this being the up pose means we're going to sort of start obviously different than what we did with the walk cycle. I want to go ahead and make sure when I have my middle controller selected in the channel box, you got your cog gimbal visibility. If you're using this rig or something similar, I'm going to have that on just so I can control my rotation from here instead of my main cog controller. So that will stay straight, and I will rotate my gimbal cog visibility or controller. Rotate that down. I have the head right now and world space. So you simply go to the channel box to the side, look up head space, and you want to make sure that's on world. I'm going to go ahead and select my first pose. I'll leave the arms out for now. Press S. Get all my keys set on all the controllers. Then from this pose, I'm going to go to my contact pose. And since we're at 24 frames, it's going to be every 3 frames we'll set a pose down. So on the third pose, I'm going to go ahead to my contact pose. Go to Y, press 0. Looks like it's penetrating just a little bit. Put it up. So contact pose, that back pose is because it just got through flicking off the ground, it's still going to be up. So this would be my contact pose. I'm going to go ahead and select my waist controller right here. Rotate it just enough. See if I can get more stretch out of this leg, this front leg. Maybe a bit more down to make sure it's on the ground. And once I got my first pose, or my second pose, he's just going to be flying. He's going to try to take off. That's what he's going to do. I'm going to move on the next 3 frames and get to my next pose, which will be my down pose. So rotation on Y, I'm just going to drop that to 0 on my X. I'll make sure my Y is at 0 as well. Push that in a little bit, like so. Drop the waist a tad bit. Have the foot come in. I got my contact, my down pose. And now comes my passing pose. Passing pose, I'm going to move the foot to the middle. Drag this foot, put it down a little bit, put it underneath, straighten it out. It's passing. I'm going to put them up just a little bit, because that weight's come down. Also, don't forget about the waist. I want to rotate it, sort of even it out. It's about as much best I can. And then that will be my passing pose. So my passing pose, now we basically be going back to our up pose. During our up pose, I'm actually going to adjust my up pose a little bit more, put my foot closer to the ground. There. On the up pose, I'm going to just grab frame 0, middle mouse, hold all the way to frame 12, press S, and now that's the pose. And I'm just going to basically swap positions of the feet. and adjust the waist. One easy way for me to do that is I will grab the back foot at frame 0, go to the timeline, copy, go to frame 12, go to the front foot of my the pose, and on the timeline, right click, paste. Now do the same with the front foot at frame 0, copy it, then do the other foot, the opposite foot, whoops, on frame 12. Now I got the same distance of feet going on in frame 0 and 12. Let me click this, and the waist is at 0, so no harm there. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and do this again. Should set a key on all the controllers. I don't really necessarily have to have the upper body, but I'm just doing it just to keep it consistent. And one thing that I think, one thing you want to make sure you do have, I think it was already selected on these controllers, and make sure you look at. I'm going to go ahead and stretch them out to here, delete all the other keys. Which when I deleted, I just held down Shift and dragged on the timeline and went to delete the keys on the timeline. And I'm just going to leave those guys here. They are both on, if you go to the channel box here on the right side, you go to pole vector space, they're both on world. You want to make sure they're on world just so that, and you can drag them out here just so that they're not in the way. And you can adjust them one by one as you please. Alright, so now just like how we did these feet for frame 12, we're going to basically duplicate what we have for frame 2, 6, and 9 and put that on frame 15, 18, and 21 to get the rest of this run. Okay, so what I'm going to do is show you how to do this first one, and then I'll let you guys to it and I'll just get to the rest of it. So for the first one we did 12, then went to 3, which is on frame 15 now. So I'm going to grab on frame 15, on frame 3, I'm going to grab the very front foot. On keyline, I'm going to go to copy, and this middle mouse, and let this menu come up, and I'm just going to go to copy. And once I copy there, I'm going to go to frame 15. Now I'm going to grab the opposite foot, go down to the keyframe 15, go up and paste. I'm going to do the same thing with this foot. I'm going to go to frame 3, the back foot, make sure you grab the back foot, copy on frame 3, then go to frame 15, make sure you grab the back foot, and then you're going to paste that same pose on frame 15. Now the other thing you're going to need to do is obviously adjust the waist. So you can just literally copy frame 3, middle mouse drag to frame 15, press S, and now you got your waist as well. Now I'll do the same thing for 6 and 9. So now that I got all those done, I'm going to drag select over all the keys, all the controllers, and middle mouse drag from frame 0 all the way to 24. Then press S and set that key. And now I got my cycle for my run. Let's go ahead and get my arm and my torso into it. And come to think of it, I want to make sure my shoulders are actually in FK. They're going to be in parent space. The reason I want them in parent is so when I rotate the torso, the arm sort of just go with. So what I'm going to start off with first is actually the arms. And just think of it, the opposite arm on either side of the body is going to be in the opposite direction. So this arm is my right arm and my right leg's back, so my right arm is going to be forward. And for this, right, and forward. Let's go back real quick because I do not want these to get blocked. So for the shoulder, I went ahead and zeroed out again on the channel box. What you want to do is grab your Z controller, probably in the channel box, and rotate it down. Then we want to grab our X rotation, rotate it about 70 forward. Then we'll do the opposite for the other arm. Go down on rotation Z. Then you want to grab in the channel box, rotation X, and just sort of leave it backwards. Now I got this weird straight arm pose, so I'm going to go to the elbows and just adjust it a little bit. Just a little bit. And I'm not going to do it right now, but you can adjust the hands to look a little more better instead of karate choppy. So for now, we're going to move on to get into the next pose. But instead of going there, we're just going to go to frame 12. Do that same process again, but the arm's going to go to the different, basically on the opposite side. Rotation Z. Rotation X. Now what I'm going to do is just go ahead and grab the arm controllers, at least the two that I set keys on, and just delete the middle controllers. And since you put poses on 0 and 12, now the arms can swing back and forth. And then all you got to do now is basically go to frame 0, copy that to frame 24, which I want at frame 0. I just held down middle mouse and then went to frame 24. Whoops. And pressed S. So now the arms go back and forth. So there are some adjustments that we'll need to make. Let's see what those adjustments are. Okay, so as I was playing my play blast, my arms went all crazy, and that's because when you are switching from world to parent, make sure that you, if you can see right there, it's switching in my channel box. I did it with the keys already on it, and it never changed the whole timeline. So if that ever happens, you don't need it to have on both, or you just go ahead and grab both controllers, go to your timeline, look up FK, go to here, make sure it's on parent, right click and get this drop down menu, and you're just going to go ahead and delete selected, and that's going to delete everything on there and keep it into parent. And now you see that the arms move right. They're not popping, they're being robot arms. Looks like I got one arm swinging back further than the other, so I'm going to go ahead and grab that one. I think you are in X rotation and swing that a little bit more. So now my robot's running, or the character's running. I want to add some twist to the torso. And I want to simplify it just a little bit. I'm just going to grab the two top controllers of the of the chest here. And at frame from 3, 6, and 9, those frames, I'm going to go ahead and delete. What I did is and then 14, or 15, 18, 19, the same thing. But what I did is I held Shift, dragged over the keys, let go, right click, delete. So now what that's going to do, I'm just going to make two adjustments. One in the front pose, so the chest is always going the opposite of the legs. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn it just a little bit. And that frame 12 is going the opposite way. Turn that just a little bit. I'm going to grab frame 0, middle mouse all the way to 24, press S to set a key there. Let's get some chest rotation on it. When we look at our graph editor, oh gosh, come on. Look at our Y. We just want to make sure that sort of flows together, at least loops well enough. And we may come back in and do some adjustments on the up and down on the Y, just because it's very up and downy, and it's mostly just because we don't have the legs sort of going the right way that we should have it going. But let's get the character moving forward first, and then we're going to come back and adjust the up and down on here. And one of the ways that we're going to do to get the character moving forward and also to prevent feet sliding, we're going to go into this front foot that's about to make the contact pose, go into our Z axis. We'll look at our Z curve, and right here, these two keys in the middle of our curve, basically this is the right foot about to hit, and once it hits, it's going to drag all the way through, and we want that curve to be straight. So I'm going to get rid of the two keys in between. It's already fairly straight from previous stuff, but I want to make sure this handle on this side is just go ahead and drag select it, make sure it's linear. It already is, and you want this key to be linear as well. Then you want this side, which you may need to adjust. Once we start moving forward, we'll come back and adjust that, because that might be too far depending on how fast the character is going. Now this is just to keep the character at the pace that it's currently, that we want, that the feet are making it travel. If it needs to go faster, say the speed here is going to be faster than what the foot is, we'll adjust the foot to sort of adjust to that. But right now we're just going to use the foot on the Z. Oh, that's the wrong foot. I'm going to go back to the other one. This foot on the Z, and we're going to basically copy these two keys. Now the way we copy them is simply drag select, and go to edit, copy, and then we're going to go to our main controller here. If you don't see it, select the main move all controller at the bottom, go to your channel box onto the side, looking for the display offset. You want to make sure that's on. Now you want to go down to make sure you select the right controller. This will move the character. You want the character to move forward, so I want to press on Z. You want to go to the key that you wanted at. You want to right click, go up to paste, and then paste connect. Then press F and then zoom in where you're at. When you paste connect, it makes sure that wherever the character is currently at, it will be at 0. So if you start your animation at 0, you don't want it to be here or be over there. You want it to be at 0. So just to make things easier, when you do from the timeline, when you paste from the timeline, you can paste connect and it'll paste it at the exact spot that it's currently at. So right now, if I scrub through the timeline, the character goes backwards. So to fix that, I'm just going to simply drag over this key, the last one, look at the coordinates, and since my value starts at 0, I know that if I do the opposite, get rid of the negative, it will just basically flip it. But then I need to go select my keys again and place linear. That will just straighten them out. Then I'm going to go to my options over here, which is post infinity and pre infinity. You can also go to curves, post infinity, cycle with offset, or post infinity, cycle with offset, or pre or post, and that'll allow the character to sort of run forward. So now I got my character running forward. So now that the character is running forward, there's a few things we still want to clean up. But with the character running forward, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to clean up a few things. But one thing that makes it a little easier to clean up while it's still running is some of the feet. And the biggest part of the feet is basically when the foot, say this back foot, it's out left the ground and it's taken off. It looks like it sort of flips out behind and it doesn't come off the right location. So we can go ahead and adjust that right now. So at frame, say 18, I'm just going to use 18. This foot's on the ground. I'm going to go ahead and make an object. It could be anything just about, but I'm going to go ahead and make a sphere. I'm just going to drag it in front of the toe. Just simple eyeball, nothing big. Just going to drag it in front of the toe. Then as I go and the foot comes up, say I'm just going to go to that last key where the foot's already up. I'm going to put this foot, the toe of my foot, close to it, if not exactly on it. Because what's happening is, oops, got to make sure that that doesn't affect that part of it though. Control Z back. I want to go ahead and press S right here to lock that key in. And at frame 24, go ahead and push this down. Go ahead and line this up about as best I can. Right here. What happens here, although it's sliding a little bit, and we'll fix that. What happens here is as the foot comes up, the foot is generally going to point at its location that it's pushing off of. And then say I copy this frame to frame 0 over here, the beginning of my run. And now I got to adjust my back foot, because if you noticed, oh wait, I got infinity on, so let me just go back over here and just show you. So make sure that's on. What's happening as the foot comes up and off, now this foot is further away than this object, and that's where the toe was was hit pushing off the ground, and the foot shouldn't push it behind itself after it pushes off. So what I'm going to do on frame 3 is I'm going to adjust it. So frame 4, I can use that same ball. If I can select the mesh, grab the mesh, I'm going to put it all the way back to the toe, and I'm going to sort of, on frame 3, guide my foot to sort of almost be around that same location as the character is pushing off. And now we're trying to fight that and the last little bit of stickiness that happens right in here, the hyperextension. So what we probably need to do is go into our graphs and make sure we got our post infinities on and our pre to sort of see what's happening. You can sort of tell that this coming up here and sort of stopping, and then it sort of evening out for a little bit, then going up might help with that cause. So with that, I'm going to put this linear, that linear. Okay, so they both third now. Oops. Just this one up. Not sure why this one's so far. Oh. This one right here. Still got a little bit of a pop in the knee, but what I've done is basically on the Y, the keys were basically flat and we're having this kind of effect on both sides. So I had to go in and adjust those so that they both went into each other smoothly. So I had to move this one up and basically grab the last key on the other side, and that's why it's important to put the post and pre-infinity on so you can sort of see where the key is going, or the curve is going and where it's been. And I basically moved the other key or curve on the frame 24 to sort of match the trajectory of the next frame to sort of get that pop out of the way, or at least that little hold out of the way in the foot. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, but doing this, I'm going to go back to 24 real quick. Now you can sort of see the difference in the feet, how the other foot, when it comes off, it's like pushing back and it's going further, so it looks very odd, where the other foot just looks like it's just pushing off normally. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust the other foot to be the same. But before I do that, I want to make sure that the foot on the landing pose is coming down for, say, frame 3. The foot should be down on frame 4. So the rotation on frame 4, I'm just going to put it 0 and the foot can come down. So now he's down. Same thing with this foot. Contact froze at frame on 15, then at 16, the rotation, I'm just going to 0 it out so the foot is down. That's a nice little down state. So now I'm going to fix this foot not to pop out like the other one is, or to match the other one. Alright, so now I adjust those feet so it doesn't pop so much. But now I want to go back and work on my Y, on my cog, the Y, the up and down, just to smooth it out a little bit. But I need to make sure I can work on it with the character in or standing still, so I'm not trying to fight it moving forward and me keeping it still. So now what I'm going to do is basically mute the translation Z. You just want to basically click on in a channel box, hold it down, and then find mute selected. And once you click on that, it will basically mute it, meaning it will just stop it at whatever value you had it at and allow you to sort of look it over. I want to put my keyframes back to 24. And now I can sort of adjust my other attributes, the Y and any other things that I sort of want to adjust without having. I'm just gonna. Right now I'm just bringing up the key and the Y just to get the feet up a little bit. I'm gonna do the same with this one. I'm just gonna copy this value. I just basically selected it, and here I can look at the value that it is. Control copy. Then go to this keyframe, which is around the same one, and just paste that same value. So now it just makes it consistent. The character goes up as he's running. And since he's running still, you can sort of adjust the up and down. Now obviously the head and the arms need some adjustment too. And just like the arms, and just like how we did the head for the walk cycle, we are going to take on the arms first. As the arms come down, I'm on this right arm right here, I'm going to still have it bent just a little bit. So he comes down, and then when it comes back up to 12, it's at its point. Then as it comes back, say frame 16, I'm still going to have it pushed back just a little bit. Then before it gets to frame 24, actually around frame 20, I'm going to push it up just at an L, just at enough so it almost reaches the destination of what it was going to be at 24, maybe a little bit back. Or if I need to adjust the end frame to be up a little bit more, and copy that pose to the front. Now the arm has a little bit of motion, and I can do that same thing with the wrist. I'm going to go ahead and adjust the wrist a little bit as the character sort of starts coming down. Bend the wrist up. Delete 9. Let the wrist stay up. The wrist is going to go back to normal at 12. And as it comes back, say about frame 18, I'm going to push it back and then let it catch up naturally at frame 24. And then for a run, I mean, you can have normally in runs I keep the hand pose at one consistent hand pose. And for this one, I'm just going to throw it into a fist pose. This is simple, nothing complex. It's going to grab all the joints, all the controllers, and rotate it down. Sort of pose them like a fist would be posed. I recommend just balling your hand into a fist, or looking on the internet to see all the many different kind of fist poses you can put something in. Once I have my pose, I'm just going to basically drag, make sure I have all the controllers selected. Make sure I set a key on frame 0 or whatever frame I desire, and just delete the rest of the keys. And just have a simple fist pose. Then just want to basically repeat that same process for the other arm to get that going. But before we do that, I did notice a twitch on the waist that I don't think we addressed, and we didn't. Alright, so what I want to do, since I noticed the hitch, I'm just going to simply get rid of all the keys in between both the middle, and since this is slightly different because I didn't start on the down pose, it's going to be, usually on the down pose is where you have your waist sort of hitting this way or that way. And since my other previous adjustments has my knee hyperextending right there, I'm just going to simply keep it simple and keep frame 0 rotated and at frame 24 rotated. So at frame 12, I'm going to get that same rotation, a -18. Well, I'm going to make it a -18. No, I'm just going to copy this, control copy, go to frame 12, control paste, and just get rid of the negative, and then have it that way. So now I got my waist going back and forth sort of naturally, and I completely forgot to do the other arm first before I did that. Alright, let me get this other arm in and then throw in the head, and we'll be done. So for the head, I'm just simply putting a down pose around when the feet are down, and then I'm going into the rotation of Z. If I can click Z, making sure it loops. If I adjust this so it's even with that one, and what I'm going to do with this is just sort of simply offset it. So when the character comes down, the head's going to sort of come down a little bit before the body drops. So I'm going to push it to the left of 1 or 2 frames, so I can sort of get that kind of motion to it. And then I might want to adjust it because maybe I don't know if I like it 100%. And I'm just grabbing the bottom 2 keys, pushing them up, the top 3 keys, pushing them down, just to tone down the amount of motion there is. So if you ever want to just tone down something, you can do it that way. And now if I want to see this character run for forever, I can just drag select everything, go to the graph editor, make sure my post and pre-infinity are on. Push my timeline out to about, say, 100 frames. And make sure I unmute my main controller by selecting the translate or whatever is muted, going to right click and unmute selected, and then you can watch your character run for infinity. Alright, that's all for today for this one, and looking forward to making some more, showing you guys some more stuff. And this is, again, very generic base run cycle. You can always modify, tweak, and polish these things to your liking, but this is just all the basic information you'll need to get a good run cycle in that you can translate forward and adjust accordingly. Alright, if you have any questions or anything in that nature, just let me know.